안녕하세요, 택톡입니다. 이번엔 총기를 다루는 모든 사람이 알고 있어야 하는 전 세계에서 통용되는 국제화기 안전수칙에 대해 알려드리고자 합니다. 국제화기 안전수칙은 전 세계적으로 통용되며 표현법은 조금씩 다르더라도 의미하는 바는 바뀌지 않습니다. 택톡 번역실 화기 안전수칙입니다.
So, little Johnny just had his 16th birthday. For that birthday gift, he got a 1-ton diesel dually. He just gonna jump in that truck and whip right out on the freeway and start driving? No. He's got to go to DMV, he's got to take some tests, making sure that he knows exactly what he's doing with that vehicle before he gets out on the road by himself. Could hurt somebody. Same way if you buy a handgun. The salesperson is going to show you everything that you need to know about this gun. So by the time you walk out of that door, you know everything there is to know about firearm safety. Let me introduce the Glock shooting team. Shane, Michelle, and Tori. Shane, what is this?
That's rule number one, Gunny.
And what is rule number one?
Rule number one is treat every firearm as if it's loaded at all times, no matter what.
Could I see that gun?
Sure thing, Gunny. Assume every firearm is loaded. Safety rule number one. Visually inspect the chamber. Take my pinky, physically inspect the chamber. Now that I'm gonna put this firearm away, close the slide, pull the trigger. Know that firearm is safe.
Let's move on to rule number 2.
Never aim your firearm at anything you're not willing to destroy.
I call it common sense.
Exactly, common sense.
Rule number 3, Tori.
Always keep your finger off the trigger until you have your sights lined up on the target and you're ready to shoot. Which brings us to the next rule.
Rule number 4.
Yeah.
Always be sure what is beyond your target. I'm a farmer. What if there happens to be a cow walking behind that target about the time you're getting ready to shoot? And you end up having a lot of steak and hamburgers. I hope you got a big freezer, right? Let's recap. Shane, what's rule number 1?
Always treat your firearms as if they are loaded at all times.
Absolutely. Michelle?
Never point your firearm at anything you're not willing to destroy.
Tori?
Keep your finger off the trigger at all times until you have your sights lined on the target.
Always know what is your target is all about and beyond your target. It's very important all the way around. So, there you have it. All 4 rules. One just as important as the other. Be safe. Keep practicing.
All right, hey guys, John Lovell here. We're going over the universal firearm safety rules today. I'm making this video for a few reasons. One is if you're new to shooting, you really need a baseline of safety. You may think, hey, yeah, obviously don't point a gun at anyone, don't put your finger on the trigger. And there's a lot of yeah, duh type rules, but there's often a ton of common and very dangerous mistakes that I see newer and older shooters committing all the time that are just frankly no-goes. Second reason I'm making this video is to be a resource for you guys who already know these rules. I mean, this video isn't for you, it's for you to share. So you say you're going out to the range to shoot with a buddy, you send them this link and you say, hey, watch this first. Or you're training a neighbor or your spouse. This is their homework. And a third reason, I travel the country teaching classes all over the United States. Every week I'm seemingly in a different state, and now this is homework. So I can send out an email, hey guys, see you in Texas next week. Watch this video as homework. So when they get their safety brief, it's the second time they've got the universal firearm safety rules. This should be kind of like Bible law for shooters. There's 4 of them. They do not change. And if you ever outgrow the universal firearm safety rules, you've outgrown my fellowship, and I'm not going to shoot with you because you're all kinds of jacked up. They go like this. Rule number 1, treat all guns as if they're loaded and always know the condition of your gun. I've got 2 guns right over here. Ignore my script here, and this right here is an airsoft gun. You see the little orange knob here. This one right here is a real gun. We'll talk about clearing procedures in just a moment. But as I'm just kind of hanging out, this is my downrange area here. I'm not pointing at anyone else, and I'm going to the reason why I use a fake gun for this is so that I can do goofy stuff, like I can show you how muzzling yourself. I would never do that with a real gun. This is not a real gun. This is a training tool. The point of it is that I can do some of those things that you would be unacceptable with a real gun, right? All right, very good. So first off, pretending that this is a real gun, rule number 1 is treat all guns as if they're loaded and always know the condition of your gun. What that means is even if I'd bet my life that this gun was empty, I'm still not going to point it at myself. I'm not going to point it at someone else. And furthermore, I'm going to know the condition of my gun. That basically means, is there a round in the chamber? Is there rounds in the magazine? Right there, that's exactly what that means. Cool. Always know the condition of your gun. All right, fantastic. So to make sure that we know the condition of our gun, let's go real quickly over a clearing procedure. It's going to be a pretty robust system. I'm going to switch over to a real firearm here. All right, this is a gun. It is in fact loaded, and even if it wasn't, I'd still treat it as if it was. Notice when I came out of the holster, I didn't point it in front of my hand. It's pointed down range. I know my target, what's beyond it. Step 1, drop magazine, and I do so. Step 2, rack the slide, and a round popped out, and I caught it. I don't recommend you catching it. I didn't mean to. Just let them fly. There's the danger of you go to catch that round, and the muzzle of your gun flies around and points at someone else. So really just let that stuff fall and keep your muzzle oriented downrange. Go ahead and rack it twice. 1, 2, as a double check. Now, is the gun clear? And many of you would rush and say, absolutely it is. And if a round flew out, you know it is. But still, we want redundancies in our safety checks, which means now I'm going to provide a visual and physical inspection of the chamber. Now, keeping the muzzle downrange still, I'm going to lock the slide to the rear. And now I will inspect inside the barrel and down in the mag well, look away, and then I'll do it again, and I can even physically touch so I know that the barrel is empty. You see in there? That's what I'm looking for. Inside the barrel, it is empty. Down in the mag well, it's empty. And a double check. Now, at this point, this gun is safe, and if I wanted to go ahead and put it down, I don't have anything to fear for this gun. When I come up and I'm conducting classes or anything, and I see a gun out on a table, out of a holster with a slide lock to the rear, that's no big issue for me. But if I walked up to a table and I saw a gun like this, just chilling there, out of a holster with a slide forward, I will lose my mind. And I don't lose my mind very often in classes, but that'd be a very unsafe thing. Guns need to live in holsters, or the slides need to be to the rear. So say you were in a class or you're on a range and you wanted to go out and clear this gun, you're talking with some guys, like, hey, hold on just a moment, let me clear my gun. You move up to the firing line, you go ahead and come out, drop magazine, cycle, twice, lock to the rear, inspect, look away, inspect, go ahead and get in there, and you know it's clear. And even afterwards, with the slide lock to the rear, I'm going to try not to point it at anyone. And now I can drive it around, and there we go. That's my clearing procedures. Got it? So that was a real quick way to go about it. Step 1, drop magazine. Step 2, rack. Step 3, lock to the rear, visually, physically inspect the chamber, and you're good to go. What can happen is you can have something like a broken extractor. So even when you rack the slide, it doesn't actually pull around out of the chamber, so that's why we have those visual, physical checks. Number 2, keep your finger off the trigger until the sights are aligned and the decision to shoot has been made. What I recommend with folks is if you looked at the side of the gun, just like so, it should look like you're an amputee. It looks like you have 3 fingers and a thumb. My other finger is way up here on the slide. It is unacceptable to have your finger down here. That's a no-go. To me, I'll scream at you for having your finger on the trigger, and you'll say, my finger wasn't on the trigger. I'm like, to me, this is about the same thing. What happens is as soon as you get distracted doing a course of fire, running and gunning, your finger will naturally look for a resting place. And so if I see a finger that rests naturally right here, it's just a matter of time before I catch you and I see that fold around the trigger, and that's not okay. Keep your finger off the trigger until the sights are aligned and the decision to shoot has been made. Got it? All right, let's switch to a fake gun for this next piece. Here's our handy dandy airsoft gun. Rule number 3 is never point a firearm at anything you don't intend to destroy. This is called lasering, it's pointing, it's flagging, it's muzzling. It's any time that the muzzle crosses in front of flesh, whether it's your hand, your foot, or somebody else. Anything you don't intend to destroy, don't point a gun at it. Finger off the trigger, don't point a gun at it, and you can't have any accidents. Good day. Let me show you, because at this point you're being like, yeah, duh, I wouldn't do that. And then people immediately go out to the range and break this rule. Drives me crazy. I'm going to break this rule in front of you a couple times, and I want you to see all the little safety infractions. So consider this a little bit of a pop quiz. Now, I'm going to pretend and simulate this is a holster. I would never do this with a real gun, but I need something to put it in right here. So I'm going to pretend that this is a safe holster. Got it? Everyone making believe with me? Good deal. Again, wouldn't never, ever do that with a holster, with a real gun. This needs a holster that affords trigger guard protection. Tell me if you see me do anything wrong, and I'm going to pretend that this is my downrange area. Here we go. Bang, 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 bang. Bang, bang, bang. Coming off trigger. Very good. I'm done shooting. I take my magazine out. I go ahead and put it down. I can go ahead and clear out my gun. Good. Put that down. Let me go ahead and load my gun again. Loading my gun. Bang, bang. Hey, airsoft. And then I go ahead and put my gun back in my holster. Cool. Anybody see any problems with that? I'll pause as if you could respond to me. Yeah, there was all kinds of problems with that. That was all kinds of jacked up. Don't say, hey, that's not a real holster. Shut up, we already went through that. When I came out on the draw, I crossed in front of my hand on presentation. No go, that's flagging yourself. Absolutely not. Then I came up and I shot, and then when I was done shooting, bang, 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 I left my finger on the trigger. That's a violation of rule number 2. Absolutely not. Then when I took the magazine out, I reached in front of the muzzle. Absolutely not. Put the gun down, picked it back up, and then reached in front of the muzzle again. Loaded, pop, 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 then left my finger on the trigger again. Then I held where my holster would be and crossed my hand again with the muzzle. All those safety rules. I see this kind of junk all the time. Makes me dive for cover when I go to public ranges. I just don't like doing it. Here's another one. Somebody comes out and they're like, all right, let me go ahead and clear this out. And they're on a line, a range line. And then they go to lock slide to the rear and they point the gun down the line at everybody else. No go. So all these are just how people will know the rules. They know them. They'll repeat them to you. They're like bored during my safety brief, and then they immediately go and do this amateur stuff. Don't do it, guys. Rule number 1, treat all guns as if they're loaded and always know the condition of your gun. Rule number 2, keep your finger off the trigger until the sights or line of decision to shoot has been made. 3, never point a gun at anything you don't intend to destroy. And rule number 4, know your target. What's beyond it, in front of it, to the left and the right of it. Here's the thing, guys. You're responsible for every single round until it stops moving. Got it? That means if you miss your target, it travels 2 miles away, hits some little girl playing on a playground, that's your fault. That's involuntary manslaughter. Way to go. If you're in an actual shooting and you miss somebody, or it goes through somebody and hits somebody else, guess what? That's your fault. You're responsible for every round until it stops moving. You shoot a gun accidentally in a house, negligently in a house, goes through a wall, and hits somebody on the other side. That's your fault. You're responsible for every round until it stops. So you got to know your target, what's beyond it, to the left, to the right of it, and in front. Guys, those are your universal firearm safety rules. It's meant for you to share with other newer shooters. And for you newer shooters out there, welcome to Firearms. If you know the safe ways to conduct this, guess what? We just don't have negligent things happen. We don't have accidents. There's a really safe way that we can learn how to defend our communities, and that's what the Warrior Poet Society is all about. We're about making safer communities. We love people, so we desire to be better protectors, and to that end, we need to train, and we would need to do so safely. So welcome to Firearms, welcome to the Warrior Poet Society, and we'll see you next time.
다음에도 흥미로운 컨텐츠로 찾아뵙겠습니다. 감사합니다.